There's a crack in your wall right now that you have walked past 1,000 times without stopping. It is small, maybe the width of a human hair, maybe a little wider near the corner of a window or just above a door frame. You noticed it once, maybe twice, told yourself every house settles, and kept walking. That crack is talking to you, and what it is saying could save you $40,000 or cost you everything underneath your roof, depending on whether you listen in the next 30 days or ignore it for another season. This is not about cosmetic damage. This is not about a little plaster dust on your baseboard. What I'm about to show you is a structural warning system built into every home ever constructed, a system so simple that a farmer in 1920 could read it with his bare eyes and know exactly what his house needed before winter. And yet, in 2025, 93% of homeowners have no idea what these signs mean, because the people who profit from your ignorance, foundation repair companies charging emergency rates, general contractors billing crisis premiums, and insurance adjusters trained to deny your claim, have made absolutely certain you were never taught how to read your own walls. Not a single home inspection course offered to consumers covers what I am about to explain. Not a single real estate closing document includes it. Not a single homeowner's insurance policy encourages you to learn it. Because the moment you understand what your house is telling you, an entire repair industry loses its ability to charge you catastrophic prices for problems that started as a $15 fix. A diagonal crack running from the upper corner of a window frame toward the ceiling at roughly 45 degrees. A door that sticks at the top in summer but swings freely in winter. A hairline fracture along the seam where your wall meets your ceiling that was not there 2 years ago. A gap forming between your baseboard trim and your floor on one side of a room but not the other. These are not random symptoms of an aging house. These are the 4 primary distress signals of active foundation movement. And if you are seeing even one of them, your house is telling you that something has already shifted beneath it and is continuing to shift right now while you are watching this. Let me take you back to where this knowledge was common. In 1934, a civil engineer named Harold Westergaard published a set of structural observation protocols through the Bureau of Public Roads that changed how the federal government assessed load-bearing failures in concrete structures. Westergaard's work focused on highway infrastructure, but his diagnostic framework, specifically his method of reading crack direction, width progression, and seasonal variation to determine whether a structure was in static settlement or active displacement, was adopted almost immediately by residential building inspectors across the Midwest and the Northeast. By the 1940s, county building inspectors in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Illinois were trained to evaluate a home's foundation health in under 15 minutes using nothing more than a pencil, a piece of paper, and their own eyes. They examined crack angles. They measured gap widths with folded paper. They checked whether doors and windows had shifted in their frames. They could tell you with startling accuracy whether your foundation had finished its natural settling or whether it was in the early stages of a progressive failure that would compromise a bearing wall within 5 to 10 years. This knowledge was standard. It appeared in homeowner maintenance pamphlets published by the Federal Housing Administration. It was taught in agricultural extension courses to rural families maintaining their own properties. Your great-grandfather likely knew how to read his walls the way you know how to read the fuel gauge in your car. It was basic, essential, and completely uncontroversial. Then the foundation repair industry professionalized. In the 1970s and 1980s, a wave of specialized foundation repair companies emerged across the Sun Belt and Midwest, regions where expansive clay soils make foundation movement particularly common. These companies developed proprietary repair systems involving steel piers, helical anchors, and polyurethane injection foam. These systems are genuinely effective at stabilizing severely compromised foundations. They are also extraordinarily expensive. The average foundation repair in the United States today costs between $28,000 and $62,000 depending on severity, method, and region. Major structural failures involving wall replacement and complete releveling regularly exceed $100,000. A company that earns $60,000 per repair has zero financial incentive to teach you that the same problem, caught 18 months earlier, could have been prevented entirely by redirecting a downspout, regrading 6 feet of soil along your foundation wall, and sealing a hairline crack with a $10 tube of flexible polyurethane caulk. The entire revenue model depends on late detection. Every month you walk past that crack without understanding what it means is a month that the damage advances from a weekend maintenance task into a 5-figure emergency. And the insurance industry is not coming to rescue you either. Homeowners' policies in all 50 states contain exclusions for what insurers classify as gradual damage or deferred maintenance. If your foundation fails because you never addressed the drainage issues causing progressive soil erosion beneath your footing, your claim will be denied. They will point to the crack you ignored, the door that stuck for 2 years, the gap you never measured, and they will classify it as a pre-existing condition that you had a duty to mitigate. You will absorb the full cost with no recourse, no appeal, and no check in the mail. This is how the system is designed. You're not taught to recognize early warnings. You are not equipped to perform low-cost interventions. You are kept in the dark until the damage reaches the point where it generates maximum revenue for the companies that show up after the failure. Before I show you exactly what to do, let me tell you what else we have been building inside the forbidden arena. Complete breakdowns on home maintenance secrets that contractors charge thousands to address, but cost almost nothing when you understand the fix yourself. Plumbing failures you can prevent with hardware store materials. Electrical hazards hiding behind your walls that home inspectors routinely miss. Roofing problems that begin as a $5 repair and become a $15,000 replacement because no one told you what to look for. Every guide is built the same way. No filler, no upselling, straight information. The link is in the description directly below this video. But stay right here because the science behind what your walls are telling you is about to permanently change how you walk through your own home. Every residential foundation, whether it is a poured concrete slab, a block wall, or a pier and beam system, sits on soil. Soil moves. It expands when it absorbs water and contracts when it dries. Clay soils are particularly volatile. Montmorillonite clay, the dominant soil type across Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, and large portions of the Midwest, can expand by 15% or more when saturated and shrink by an equal margin during drought. When the soil beneath one section of your foundation swells, while another section remains stable or contracts, it creates what engineers call differential movement. One part of your house rises or sinks relative to the rest. This differential is measured in fractions of an inch, but fractions of an inch distributed across a 40-foot span generate enormous shearing forces inside rigid materials like concrete, block, and drywall. Those forces have to release somewhere. They travel upward through your walls and express themselves as cracks. The direction of the crack tells you the direction of the movement. A diagonal crack running upward from a window corner means the foundation beneath that corner is dropping relative to the adjacent section. A horizontal crack along a block foundation wall indicates lateral pressure from saturated soil pushing inward against the exterior face. A stair-step crack following mortar joints in brick indicates differential settlement progressing along the length of the wall. Vestergaard documented in 1934 what every structural engineer still confirms today. Crack direction is not random. It is a diagram. Your house is drawing you a precise map of what is failing and where. The only thing required of you is learning to read it. Here is what almost nobody realizes. 80% of residential foundation problems originate not from catastrophic geological events or construction defects, but from improper water management within 6 feet of the foundation perimeter. Gutters that dump water directly against the foundation wall, downspouts that terminate without extensions, pooling thousands of gallons of runoff against the footing every year, flower beds graded toward the house instead of away from it, holding moisture against the concrete for months, sprinkler heads aimed at the wall instead of the lawn. These are not structural problems. They are maintenance tasks. And when they are addressed early, before differential movement exceeds a quarter inch, the foundation stabilizes on its own in most soil conditions without a single pier, without a single contractor, and without a single dollar spent on emergency structural repair. I need to be completely honest with you about the limits of what you can handle yourself. If your cracks are wider than a quarter inch, if your floors are visibly sloped, if multiple doors throughout the home no longer latch, or if you see horizontal bowing in a basement wall, you are past the early intervention window. Those conditions indicate advanced structural displacement that requires professional evaluation by a licensed structural engineer. Do not ignore them and do not attempt to address them with caulk and grading alone. But if you are seeing hairline cracks, minor diagonal fractures near windows, one door that has started sticking, a small gap forming along a baseboard, you are in the early warning stage. You are standing in the window where $30 and one afternoon of work prevent a disaster that would otherwise cost more than a new car. Walk the entire exterior perimeter of your home. Examine the soil grade within 6 feet of the foundation. The ground must slope away from the house at a minimum of 1 inch per foot for the first 6 feet. If it is flat or slopes toward the house, add topsoil and reshape the grade. A few bags of soil from any garden center and a rake are all this requires. Check every downspout. Each one should discharge water at least 4 feet away from the foundation wall. If your downspouts end at the base of the wall, add extensions immediately. They cost between $4 and $8 each at any hardware store. Clean your gutters. Clogged gutters overflow during every rainstorm and dump sheets of water directly against the foundation. This single issue causes more foundation damage nationwide than most homeowners will ever understand. Inspect all visible cracks inside and outside the home. For any crack narrower than a quarter inch, clean it with a wire brush, remove loose debris, and seal it with flexible polyurethane or silicone caulk rated for concrete and masonry. Do not use rigid filler. Your foundation moves with the seasons, and a rigid compound will crack again within months. Flexible sealant moves with the structure and maintains the seal through years of natural expansion and contraction. Mark every crack you find with a pencil line drawn across it and write today's date next to it. Check these marks every 90 days. If the crack has not extended past your pencil line, your interventions are working and the movement has stabilized. If the crack grows beyond the mark, you are dealing with active progressive displacement and should consult a structural engineer, not a foundation repair salesperson. Engineers diagnose, salespeople sell. Know the difference before you write a check that could have been entirely avoided. If you live in a drought-prone area, place a soaker hose 18 inches from the foundation and run it for 30 minutes every few days during extreme dry spells. This maintains consistent soil moisture around the footing and prevents the contraction cycle that triggers settlement cracking in clay soils. Total cost for everything I just described, under $30, time required, a single afternoon, what it prevents. The most expensive non-disaster repair a homeowner will ever face. The math is not complicated. The fix is not complicated. The only complicated part was making sure you never learned either one. Your great-grandparents did not call foundation specialists. They walked their property after every heavy rain. They noticed when a door started to drag and they asked themselves why, instead of forcing it shut. They understood that a home is not a finished product you simply occupy. It is a living system that communicates with you through every crack, every gap, every frame that shifts a little more each season. They listened because nobody had ever convinced them that listening was somebody else's job. The foundation repair industry did not grow into a $4 billion market because houses started failing more often. It grew because homeowners stopped being taught how to hear what their houses were already telling them. Every crack you walk past funds that industry. Every sticky door you ignore buys another month of silent damage accumulating beneath your floor. Every gap between your trim and your wall is a sentence in a letter your house has been writing to you for months or years, a letter that says, "Fix this now while it costs nothing, because soon it will cost you everything." Now you know how to read that letter. Welcome to the Forbidden Arena. If this changed how you see your own home, subscribe right now and turn on notifications because we dig up what the industry buries, and the next one cuts even deeper than today. Hit the like button because every thumbs up pushes this toward another homeowner who is one season away from a disaster they do not see coming yet. And leave a comment telling me what you have noticed in your house, the cracks, the sticking doors, the gaps that were not there last year, because the second this community starts sharing what they are seeing, the repair industry loses the only asset that keeps it profitable: your silence.